The universal origin of symbols, gateways to higher consciousness.
Symbols are the oldest language humanity has ever spoken. Long before written words, long before alphabets and long before the rise of kingdoms, humans communicated through shapes, signs, and archetypal patterns that emerged from the depths of the psyche and the mysteries of the natural world. These symbols were not simple drawings. They were bridges, gateways, between the physical and the metaphysical, between the human mind and the vast unknown forces of the universe. Ancient civilizations believed that symbols were living entities. A triangle was not just a geometric shape, it was fire, creation, ascension, the Trinity. A circle was not just a line wrapped around itself, it was eternity, the womb, the sun, the divine cycle. The spiral was not simply a curve, it represented evolution, DNA, cosmic growth. These symbols arose independently in cultures that never met, separated by oceans and millennia. How is it that Egypt, Mesopotamia, India, Mesoamerica, and prehistoric Europe all used nearly identical sacred symbols? The answer is profound. Symbols come from human consciousness itself. Carl Jung called them archetypes, universal patterns that live in the collective unconscious of humanity. These archetypes appear in dreams, myths, religions, and rituals. Ancient civilizations did not invent their symbols, they discovered them. They perceived them during mystical experiences, altered states of consciousness, meditation, shamanic rituals, and moments of epiphany. For this reason, symbols were treated as divine messages, keys sent from a higher dimension to guide human evolution. Symbols as technological tools for awakening. Modern people underestimate how advanced symbolic systems truly were. To ancient priests, shamans, and mystics, symbols were a form of technology, a mental, spiritual, and energetic technology capable of altering consciousness. When a human stared at an ankh, or a mandala, or a spiral carved into stone, something changed in their mind. Neurons fired differently. Awareness expanded. Ancient civilizations believed that symbols activated dormant parts of the brain. The Egyptians placed the eye of Horus in temples to stimulate spiritual vision. The Hindus used yantras to activate deep meditation. The Celts carved spirals to guide souls on their journey to the afterlife. The Maya encoded cosmic cycles into their glyphs to synchronize consciousness with time itself. These were not mere decorations. They were consciousness-shifting instruments. The oldest symbols, echoes of a lost world. Archaeology reveals that the earliest symbols, such as spirals, circles, zigzags, and cross shapes, date back at least 40,000 years. They appear in caves in Indonesia, Spain, France, Siberia, and South Africa. The remarkable thing is that they are identical across continents. How? Modern anthropologists propose two theories. Shared human psyche theory. All humans experience similar dreams, visions, and subconscious imagery. The earliest shamans saw spirals and zigzags during trance states and carved them on cave walls. Lost civilization theory. A far older, advanced human culture existed before the last ice age, its knowledge spread worldwide before disappearing in cataclysmic floods. The universal symbols we see today are remnants of that forgotten world. Whichever theory one accepts, one truth remains clear. Symbols are the oldest mystical heritage of humanity. Why symbols unlock consciousness? Symbols bypass logical thought. They speak directly to the subconscious, where myths, memories, intuition, and spiritual perception live. When you look at a symbol, your mind decodes it emotionally, not rationally. Your intuition activates. Forgotten knowledge surfaces. Deeper meaning reveals itself. This is why religions, secret societies, and mystical orders rely heavily on symbols. From the Freemasons to the Egyptians, from Tibetan monks to Sufi mystics, symbols were used as sacred codes, knowledge hidden in plain sight. A living language that still speaks to us. Even today, symbols affect human behavior. Logos shape identity. Traffic signs control movement. National emblems unify people. Religious icons stir devotion. Astrological symbols guide self-reflection. We think we are modern, but our minds still respond to symbolic language the same way ancient people did. Because symbols are not historical artifacts, they are part of human consciousness. Conclusion of Section 1. Humanity's first language was not spoken, it was felt, perceived, and awakened within. Symbols formed the foundation of spirituality, communication with the divine, and the unlocking of higher states of awareness. As we continue, we will explore the specific sacred symbols that hold the power to shift consciousness, symbols that changed civilizations and still shape the human mind today. The spiral is the oldest and most universal symbol in human history. It appears on cave walls older than 30,000 years. It is carved into the stones of Neolithic temples in Turkey, Ireland, Malta, Siberia, and the American Southwest. The spiral is not cultural, it is cosmic. It is written into the structure of galaxies, hurricanes, seashells, whirlpools, and DNA itself. The spiral is the symbol of life, evolution, transformation, and consciousness expanding outward infinitely. Ancient civilizations did not study astrophysics or molecular biology, yet they understood the spiral as the governing pattern of existence. How? Because they observed nature. They watched the unfolding of leaves, the dance of water, the formation of storms. They saw that nature is not linear, it spirals. The spiral in the human mind. The spiral mirrors the journey of human awareness. Inward for introspection. Outward for expansion. Upward for enlightenment. When shamans entered trance states, they described spiraling tunnels of light. Near-death experiences often include swirling vortexes. Meditation practitioners report spiraling energy rising through the spine. The human psyche naturally experiences consciousness in spirals. Civilizations that worship the spiral. The Celts. For the Celts, the triple spiral, triskele, represented the unity of mind, body, and spirit. They believed the spiral guided souls through life, death, and rebirth. Ancient Egypt. Egyptians used spiral motifs to represent cosmic energy rising from the primordial waters. The serpent coil, another spiral form, symbolized Kundalini-like spiritual awakening. The Maya. The Maya linked spirals to the Milky Way's center, a cosmic portal of creation. Their pyramids mirrored cosmic spirals in their design. Indus Valley Civilization. Spirals appeared in meditation seals, symbolizing breath, prana, and the awakening of higher consciousness. The spiral and DNA, ancient knowledge of the double helix. It may seem impossible that ancient people knew anything about DNA, yet countless cultures depicted twin serpents spiraling around a central axis. The caduceus, the staff of Hermes, is an iconic example, two spirals representing duality merging into unity. Many researcher philosophers argue that this symbol is a metaphor for the double helix, long before microscopes existed. Spiral temples and energy vortices. Some ancient sites were designed to manipulate spiraling energy. Newgrange, Ireland. Göbekli Tepe, Turkey. Chaco Canyon, USA. The Maltese Hypogeum. These places were not ordinary structures, they were consciousness-shifting chambers. Acoustic studies show that chanting inside these temples creates spiral waveforms that alter brain states. Ancients understood that sound plus geometry could open the human mind. The spiral as a path to enlightenment. Monks in Tibet visualized golden spirals during meditation. Sufi mystics spun in circles to mimic the spiral of the cosmos. Hindu yogis activated the spiral energy of Kundalini to reach higher states. Why? Because the spiral is not a symbol, it is a mechanism. It reflects how consciousness moves. Conclusion of Section 2. The spiral is humanity's oldest spiritual teacher. It reveals that consciousness is not static but ever-evolving, expanding in infinite circles of awareness. If one understands the spiral, one understands the blueprint of existence. The eye is one of the most powerful symbols ever created. It appears in Egypt, Sumer, Greece, India, Mesopotamia, Mesoamerica, Africa, and prehistoric Europe. Civilizations that never met all believed the same truth: the eye is the gateway to higher consciousness. Why? Because the eye represents awareness. Where there is awareness, there is power. The eye as the organ of spiritual perception. Ancient people believed humans have two kinds of sight. External sight, the physical eyes. Internal sight, the spiritual, third eye. The third eye, associated with the pineal gland, was believed to be the seat of intuition, dreams, visions, and mystical knowledge. When the third eye opens, one sees reality as it truly is, not just with logic, but with wisdom. Egypt, the Eye of Horus. The Eye of Horus is the most iconic spiritual eye in history. It represents protection, healing, divine insight, the restoration of wholeness. Egyptians believed the Eye of Horus encoded mathematical ratios present in the human brain. Its geometry aligns with sections of the limbic system, suggesting the ancients understood brain anatomy through symbolic language. The all-seeing eye. In many mystical traditions, it represents God watching over creation. It symbolizes enlightenment. It signals the awakening of consciousness. The all-seeing eye is found in Buddhism, Hinduism, Christianity, Sumerian cylinder seals, Freemasonic traditions. Its message is universal: when the eye opens, truth is revealed. The third eye in Hindu and Buddhist mysticism. In India, the Ajna chakra, third eye, is the center of intuition, psychic perception, spiritual awakening, access to higher realms. Yogis who awakened this chakra reported visions of light, sacred symbols, and geometric forms, symbols that matched those found in ancient temples worldwide. The eye in ancient Persia, Sumer, and Greece. Persians believed in the evil eye, the destructive force of negative consciousness. Greeks believed in the Mahdi, the same concept. Sumerians carved eyes into statues to represent divine contact. The eye as a portal. Many shamans believed the eye was a literal portal for spirit. They painted large eyes on ritual masks, stone idols, and ceremonial clothing to call upon higher beings. Some ancient depictions show eyes surrounded by stars, signifying cosmic awareness. Modern science and the mystical eye. The pineal gland contains photoreceptor-like cells, small crystal-like structures, sensitivity to electromagnetic fields. Scientists are now discovering that the pineal gland may function like a biological antenna, a concept ancient civilizations already understood. Conclusion of Section 3. The eye is not just a symbol, it is a map. It tells us that enlightenment is an inner journey. When the inner eye opens, consciousness expands. When consciousness expands, humanity evolves. Across every ancient civilization, the serpent emerges as one of the most misunderstood yet spiritually potent symbols in human history. To modern people, the serpent often appears dangerous or evil. But to ancient cultures, the serpent was a divine teacher, an embodiment of wisdom, transformation, renewal, and the hidden forces that govern life itself. From the Nile Valley to the Indus Valley, from Mesoamerican temples to Greek myths, the serpent carried a single universal message: consciousness is always shedding, evolving, and rebirthing. In Egypt, the serpent was revered as Uraeus, the sacred cobra that adorned the foreheads of pharaohs. This was not a decorative emblem, it symbolized awakened Kundalini energy, the rising serpent force of awareness that travels from the base of the spine to the crown. The Egyptians believed that anyone who achieved higher consciousness became serpent-crowned, crowned not with gold, but with divine illumination. In India, the serpent appears as Kundalini, the coiled energy of spiritual potential. When awakened through meditation, breathwork, or profound insight, it rises in a spiraling motion, mirroring the cosmic pattern of the universe. This serpent energy opens the chakras, granting visions, intuition, and the ability to perceive beyond ordinary reality. The yogic sages described this awakening as a merging of the human soul with the infinite. In Mesoamerica, the feathered serpent Quetzalcoatl represented a balance between earth and sky, matter and spirit. He was a bringer of knowledge, mathematics, astronomy, and the arts, another echo of the serpent as the guardian of enlightenment. The duality of feathers and scales symbolizes humanity's journey from physical existence to spiritual ascent. Even in Greece, the rod of Asclepius, a serpent winding around a staff, became the symbol of healing and medicine. The serpent sheds its skin and emerges renewed, a perfect metaphor for transformation, regeneration, and the cyclical nature of existence. Why did the serpent appear everywhere? Ancients recognized the serpent as a representation of energy itself, living, moving, coiling, spiraling, evolving. They saw it in rivers, storms, cosmic patterns, lightning, and even in the structure of DNA. They understood that life force does not move in straight lines, it spirals like a serpent. To the spiritually awakened, the serpent was not a creature to fear, but a force to understand. It whispered of hidden knowledge, inner evolution, and the eternal return of consciousness. The circle is perhaps the purest and most perfect symbol ever conceived by the human mind. It has no beginning and no end. It has no angles, no interruptions, no imperfections. For this reason, ancient civilizations saw the circle as the ultimate expression of divinity, eternity, harmony, and cosmic unity. Where the spiral represents growth and movement, the circle represents wholeness, existence in its completed form. From the sun in the sky to the human eye, from ripples in water to the orbits of planets, the circle appears everywhere in nature. This made ancient people believe that the universe itself was speaking in circular language. Every dawn and dusk, every lunar phase, every season, every birth and death, life unfolded in cycles, and the circle became the symbol of that eternal recurrence. In ancient Egypt, the sun god Ra traveled across the sky in a circular arc, symbolizing the daily cycle of rebirth. The Egyptians believed that life and death were not opposites, but 2 points on a circular path that the soul followed endlessly. In their funerary art, circles represented protection, resurrection, and the eternal continuation of consciousness. The Native American medicine will use the circle to represent the 4 directions, 4 seasons, and 4 stages of life. It taught that all life is interconnected, each being part of a greater whole. To walk the wheel was to understand one's place in the cosmic order. In Hindu and Buddhist traditions, the mandala became the ultimate representation of cosmic structure. Mandalas were not just beautiful art, they were mental maps used to meditate on the universe itself. Monks created elaborate circular diagrams to guide the mind toward inner balance and spiritual awakening. The symmetry of the mandala mirrors the symmetry of the universe, both are perfect circles of existence. Even in ancient Europe, stone circles like Stonehenge aligned with celestial cycles, functioning as both calendars and temples. These circles measured time through sacred geometry, proving that ancient people understood the mathematical harmony of the cosmos. Psychologically, the circle symbolizes the self, the integrated, whole, fully realized human being. Carl Jung used the mandala as a tool for healing, claiming that the circle naturally stabilizes the mind and reveals the deeper layers of consciousness. Ultimately, the circle teaches that all things return to where they began. We are born from the universe, live within it, and return to it. The circle is not just geometry, it is destiny. The triangle is one of the oldest mystical shapes known to humanity, and ancient civilizations attributed immense power to it. With 3 sides and 3 points, the triangle represented balance, stability, and the union of opposites. But beyond geometry, the triangle became a spiritual formula, a sacred code for creation, transformation, and ascension. In Egypt, the triangle was embedded into the very structure of the pyramids. The slope of the pyramids mirrors the angle of light and energy rising from the earth toward the heavens. Priests believed the triangle acted as a conduit, drawing cosmic energy into the physical world and guiding the souls of the deceased upward toward the stars. In Greece, the triangle symbolized mind, body, and soul, the three components of human existence. Philosophers taught that only when these three are aligned does a person reach higher understanding. The triangle became the foundation of philosophical truth, appearing in mathematics, architecture, and mystery schools. In Christianity, the triangle became the symbol of the Holy Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. A universal pattern reappearing in a new spiritual language. In Hinduism, the upward-pointing triangle represented masculine fire, while the downward-pointing triangle represented feminine water. When these two merged, they formed the hexagram, the symbol of perfect energetic balance, divine union, and the creation of life. This is not coincidence but universal archetype. Even in alchemy, the triangle represented the elements. Upward triangle, fire. Downward triangle, water. Triangle with a line, air. Triangle with a bar, earth. To manipulate triangles was to manipulate nature itself. Psychologically, the triangle symbolizes ambition and ascension. Humans naturally move upward, from lower awareness to higher states of consciousness. The triangle is the visual language of evolution, determination, and transcendence. The reason the triangle appears in mystical orders like Freemasonry is because it represents illumination. The radiant triangle with the eye signifies insight rising above ignorance, enlightenment emerging from confusion. Ultimately, the triangle is not just a shape. It is a staircase. It leads the human spirit upward, toward mastery, toward understanding, toward its highest potential. The Ouroboros, an ancient serpent devouring its own tail, is one of humanity's oldest mystical symbols. Appearing in Egyptian tombs, Greek alchemical manuscripts, Norse cosmology, and Hindu spiritual diagrams, it represents a universal truth that every ancient civilization seemed to understand: existence moves in cycles, not straight lines. The Egyptians saw the Ouroboros as the eternal journey of Ra, the sun god, who died each night and was reborn at dawn. For them, the symbol captured the idea that nothing truly ends, everything transforms. Energy shifts forms, and consciousness travels through repeated cycles of death and rebirth. This is not reincarnation alone, but a cosmic rhythm imprinted into the universe itself. In Greek alchemy, the Ouroboros became the mark of inner transformation. Alchemists believed that enlightenment required the devouring of the self, a symbolic death of ego, allowing the true self to emerge from the ashes. The serpent was a mirror to the human psyche, showing that destruction and creation are two halves of one sacred process. Norse mythology mirrored this through Jormungandr, the world serpent encircling the earth. Its coils symbolized the boundaries of human understanding, patterns of fate and destiny woven beyond human control. The breaking of the cycle, Ragnarok, was not the end but the beginning of a new cosmic age. What makes the Ouroboros so powerful is its universal presence. Civilizations separated by oceans and centuries expressed the same spiritual message without ever contacting each other. This suggests something deeper: the symbol was not invented. It was remembered, a primordial truth emerging from humanity's collective subconscious. Today, the Ouroboros speaks to those on a spiritual journey. It whispers that transformation is not failure, endings are not final, and every struggle is a doorway to a new version of the self. You are both the serpent and the circle, ever evolving, ever returning, ever becoming. The lotus is one of the most sacred symbols in human history. Rising from muddy waters to bloom in pristine beauty, it represents illumination, purity, and the spiritual journey from ignorance to wisdom. What makes the lotus extraordinary is not just its appearance but its nature: it grows through darkness before ever touching the light. In ancient India, the lotus symbolized the unfolding of consciousness. Hindu sages believed that every human heart is a lotus waiting to bloom. Each petal represented a deeper layer of awareness, awakening gradually as one moves closer to their true divine self. The lotus was more than a flower, it was a map of spiritual evolution. Buddhists embraced the lotus for its powerful paradox, rooted in mud yet unstained by it. This became a metaphor for human life: we are shaped by suffering, but not defined by it. Enlightenment comes when one rises above the attachments and illusions of the world, just as the lotus rises above the water. Egyptians linked the blue lotus with rebirth and dreams. Many believed it opened gateways to higher realms of consciousness. Pharaohs and priests used lotus-infused rituals to enter trance-like states, connecting with the gods. The flower was considered a bridge between the human mind and divine wisdom. What truly sets the lotus apart from other symbols is its universal relevance. In every culture it touched, it represented inner purity, resilience, and the victory of the soul over adversity. The lotus teaches that light is not the absence of darkness but its transformation. Every challenge is nourishment. Every hardship is soil. And every soul is destined to rise. Today, the lotus appears in meditation, art, and sacred geometry. For modern spiritual seekers, it reminds us that awakening is not a sudden event, it is a gradual unfolding. No matter how deep one sinks, the potential for elevation is always present. The lotus is hope, discipline, and transcendence woven into a single, perfect symbol. The spiral is one of the oldest and most mysterious symbols known to humanity. Found in cave paintings over 20,000 years old, carved into Neolithic stones, embedded in Mayan temples, and encoded in galaxies, hurricanes, seashells, and DNA itself, the spiral is the universal pattern of creation. Ancient civilizations recognized the spiral as a key to understanding existence. The Fibonacci sequence, centuries before it was mathematically calculated, appeared in sacred art and architecture. Priests, shamans, and mystics used the spiral to represent the journey of the soul, a path that does not move straight upward, but expands outward with each cycle of learning and experience. In Celtic culture, the triple spiral, or triskele, symbolized the interconnectedness of life, death, and rebirth. It reflected the idea that consciousness evolves in stages, looping through experiences that deepen understanding and awareness. Every return is not repetition but expansion. The Greeks associated the spiral with cosmic intelligence. The golden ratio, which governs the growth of shells, plants, storms, and galaxies, was seen as the signature of divine design. The spiral became a living proof that the universe itself is conscious, structured, intentional, and mathematically sublime. In indigenous cultures, the spiral was the path into and out of the spirit world. Shamans used spiral patterns in rituals and dances to shift between ordinary and non-ordinary reality. They believed the spiral allowed the mind to travel inward, unlocking hidden truths. Modern science has confirmed what ancient cultures intuitively understood: the spiral is everywhere. From the structure of galaxies to the double helix of DNA, it is the fingerprint of creation. When humans meditate, their brainwaves often shift into rhythmic spirals, mirroring the universe. The spiral symbolizes evolution, not only biological but spiritual. It teaches that every life experience, even the painful ones, expands consciousness. You are not moving in circles, you are spiraling upward, slowly aligning with your highest self. The tree of life is one of the most powerful symbols ever created. Appearing in Norse mythology, Kabbalah, ancient Mesopotamia, Mesoamerica, and even prehistoric art, it represents the interconnectedness of all creation, heaven, earth, and the underworld bound together by one living axis. In Norse cosmology, Yggdrasil connected the 9 realms. Its roots extended into the mysterious worlds of ancestors and spirits, while its branches reached into the celestial domains of gods. For the Vikings, the tree was the skeleton of the universe, alive, breathing, and endlessly regenerating. In Kabbalah, the tree of life became a mystical diagram of divine emanations. Each sphere, or sephira, represented a different aspect of God's consciousness: wisdom, understanding, beauty, power, foundation. By climbing the symbolic tree, the soul ascended toward unity with the divine source. Mesopotamians carved sacred trees into palace walls, believing they maintained cosmic balance. The Assyrians saw the tree of life as the channel through which kings received divine authority. Its roots symbolized ancestral wisdom, its fruit symbolized blessings. Mayan civilizations connected the ceiba tree to the Milky Way. Its trunk was the channel through which shamans communicated with celestial beings. The tree was a portal, a doorway between dimensions. Today, the tree of life continues to thrive in science, spirituality, and art. The branching pattern of neurons resembles ancient carvings. Blood vessels mimic its structure. Even the internet mirrors its network-like form. The ancients were not simply decorating temples, they were reflecting the underlying architecture of reality. The tree of life teaches that nothing exists in isolation. Everything, your thoughts, actions, relationships, and dreams, is part of a larger cosmic web. When you understand this, your consciousness expands beyond the self. You become aware of the unseen roots that nourish you and the infinite branches you contribute to.